Hello and welcome to the very smart people who managed to find the venue despite my best efforts to try and not lose you in Brussels. I have miserably failed because there's more people than I expected. So thanks all for being here. It's really, really cool. Huge show. This is the Trust Infrastructure Day, sponsored by Hyli, so my company, and Aztec, thanks to Arnaud over here. We'll go over a little keynote of the event, what's going to happen, everything else, and then I'll give my completely unbiased thoughts about what I believe trust infrastructure is about. Then Arnaud will go on and explain what he thinks it's about, and then we're all going to find it's going to be a happy, merry family, as everything about consensus should be. So, a little bit about me. I'm the co-founder of Hyli. Hyli is a zero-knowledge-proof settlement and verification layer. Before that, I used to do a whole bunch of things. Very early in the on-chain gaming scene, which is where I met Baz and David over here. We built Brick, which is the first and biggest NFT protocol running on Starknet, and that's actually what got us interested into zero-knowledge proofs. Originally more from the crypto world, but the longer I spent looking at blockchain, the more I realized that, hey, actually we can do a whole bunch of things with things on top of crypto and blockchains in general, not only running everything on chain. So, just about the logistics, the Wi-Fi is called Sylve Square Guest. It's at Summer 24. The QR code don't really work. It's just going to flash the password, so you can't connect by flashing the QR code. Please be respectful of the venue. We're going to have food throughout the day. If there's any problem, anything at all, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm told you can't really miss me. The important bits, we're going to have workshops starting a bit later. They're on the first floor. If you need help getting there, look for people with the same great shirt as me or Arnaud. He'll be hanging around. The objectives for today are 4 of them, very easy. Please have fun. Have fun. This is an order. Get to learn people that are working on different things than what you are doing. Learn more about stuff that's outside of you, and please be respectful of other people. If at any point in time anyone is feeling uncomfortable or anything else, go straight to me and we'll make sure that it gets fixed. Do you have any questions, remarks about the event so far? Cecile, you're running the event, so I do hope that.
Maybe just to make sure, the workshops are on the 2nd floor when you arrive, on the left of the reception. So, yeah.
We'll shuttle you over there. So, why are we here? It's because of this fantastic concept of trust infrastructure, which is kind of like a magic spell, which was uttered by Arnaud on one fine day. He woke up, chose violence, and published a blog post called On Trust Infrastructure, which is a great segue to another great blog post of his, I feel like the biggest scam right now on crypto. And the whole gist of this blog post was to explain that actually we tried really, really hard in blockchain to remove trust from everything. We talk about trustlessness. But how about we try and infuse systems with more trust? What can we do if we relax some of these constraints? And that, like all good concepts, sniped a bunch of people, and it starts to act like a magic spell. And there's another infected person over there, Baz, on the first row, who wrote a segue into that piece about, oh, that's actually cool. What can we do with this? And we all combined our powers. So this event is a collective effort between Arnaud, Baz, Katie from Archetype, Gil Tigioza, and myself, like the Planeteers. So we all bundle up together to try and build a community around this concept that we think is actually very fertile for the future of decentralized applications. Huge shout out to the CryptoSquare team, Julien and Edward. They're overworked. They're currently still working out, but it's thanks to them that we managed to run this great event. Please join the conspiracy. We created a little Telegram chat about trust infrastructure to follow up to the event. Don't lambast me if it's on Telegram for now. We're just ramping up and we'll add more cryptography pizzazz to that thing. But we believe that this was a great first step in the right direction. All Gucci? All right. Oh, sorry. Does it? Oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll figure it out. So sorry about this. Does it work?
It works.
It works?
But I think the phones have a little bit of trouble focusing on the points.
Okay, you get 5 more seconds if you're really fast. It's always on your shoulders.
You'll invite me.
I'm sure. Can I trust you though, David?
Probably do it manually.
All right, and now for something completely different, who want to talk about Bezugsrecht? Thank you, Bas. I knew you'd be in. You spent way too much time in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. There's something wrong on the internet. I think we can start by this not very complicated statements, and obviously we can trust that Shakespeare actually said this. What do I mean by there's something wrong on the internet? We are all sorts of digital natives over here. Some people remember a time where we didn't have all smartphones in our pockets, but if you look at the younger generation, it's really funny to see that their view inside the internet is through apps. And it's really funny to see that everything has kind of narrowed down, and we all have this shared feeling that something's kind of off in blockchain and on the internet. Sorry, Alex is making fun of me. And it's a concept that Cory Doctorow coined as enshittification. We have great tools that are like social networks, basically marketplaces and platforms that allow you to bring it in. So they create a great product, they lock you in, and then it starts getting shitty because they need to make money. And you get locked in, and everything starts to shit. Fun fact, the French article for enshittification is called merification, and it was written by Alex on the last floor over there. So shout out to our head of content. And it's not only applicable to platforms, like there's this feeling that something's amiss on the internet. And so lucky for us, everything's going to be all well and dainty because we're all going to go on the internet and you will be free from the shackles of Meta, Instagram, and Starbucks for some reason. But if we all here at ACC, chances, and if you're at the event specifically, chances are that you've been in the blockchain industry for a bit now, and everything you see on Twitter amounts to this. Pre-confirmations, double ERC whammy standards, restaking, a massive word salad that in the end kind of misses the point of why we were all here in the first place, which was to give people more control and freedom over their actions on the internet. And it's not only me that's saying this, like it's this great Twitter post by Vitalik about the fact that what most people are talking about and blockchain on this is what interests him. And here, this is what we'll be talking about. Blockchain was like this massive shedding point for research about a lot of new cool things. Like ZK tech was still very far off when we started in blockchain because we had this first great niche. We managed to deploy capital and research towards improving all of this. So that's what we're actually interested in. So not only about ZK, but all the pieces of technology that we can use to give people more control and freedom, but not necessarily shackled by either, oh, it shouldn't be on chain, or it should fully run on chain. So we got a bunch of them, and I think that's where I start. So what do we mean by trust infrastructure, and why do I think it's an interesting concept? Okay, there's no more. Or okay, I like to think of it as the mix between technologies that apply to cryptography, networking, and blockchains. And if you think about all the projects that are highlighted here, some of us are more towards cryptography, which is the ability to compute over encrypted data or make sure that it can't be tampered with. Networking is more what Farcaster or the topology team are doing, which are more around how do you coordinate groups of people with looser consensus. And then you've got blockchain people, you can't really, not much to say there. It gives you great things such as cryptocurrencies, because we tend to forget that 15 years ago, you couldn't really pay people over the internet natively. And at the confluence of all these three areas of research, you get us over here at Aztec. I'm widely oversimplifying for the sake of the argument. My point is that you tend to now see projects that are being less pedantic or less idealistic or dogmatic about using certain pieces of technology just for the sake of it. And I actually think that's what is interesting here. Shout out to David in the front row here, who started all the way here on the on-chain gaming scene and is now slowly making his way in the middle of the circle, just because it makes more sense for his use case. Why do we care about that again? I got lost in the middle. The reason I think we should really care about not being dogmatic about these technologies and why it's actually important to fight against enshittification. I'm gonna answer this question by an even weirder question, which is, who do you think is the greatest philosopher of the 18th century in Europe? Baz, this is a trick question for you. Fuck yes.
Easy.
Honestly, like, shut up, Baz. Great one. It's Kant. This guy invented modern philosophy, basically, and there's a little piece that he wrote that I think really encapsulates why I believe trust infrastructure are really important and why it's important to fight against the enshittification of the internet. It's a little piece of text called Perpetual Peace. It was written in the 18th century about, okay, how can you map out how countries should behave with people, and especially with people that are not from your country. How do you give them rights? And that Besuchet is actually the concept of hospitality, or more precisely, visiting right. Read it out loud. Hospitality is the right of a stranger not to be treated as an enemy when he arrives in the land of another. When you think of it on the internet, you do not really have that concept. You're always in someone's house, but as far as your rights are concerned, it's usually trampled. You need to trust that the person is not going to steal your data. You're always in someone's house, but such a thing as visiting rights, over there, are not really enforced at any point in time. And I think that's what this is interesting. By using all these pieces of technology, blockchain, networking, and cryptography, you actually are able to give guarantees to people that when they get somewhere on the internet, their rights, their visiting rights, are not going to get trampled. And before that, before we had like this confluence of technology, it wasn't really possible to do all of this. And now that you think about it, other places on the internet, I'm not talking about spaces, you can get to spaces, but places as in, is there the street? Is there a public area, an agora, like this room, where people can gather and have these inalienable rights? And I really like this concept of the cozy web. Like if you're on Facebook over here, everything is super flat, but you're like on the highway or in an airport. You can only abide by the rules of what Facebook has done, and you don't really have any rights. But then over here, like, you get a little bit of a cozier thing. It's like you go to someone's house, and you have to abide by their rules. But the same thing, you don't really have set visiting rights. There are no visiting rights on the internet. More precisely, there are no places on the internet. And that's what blockchains actually give you. Like this third place on the internet that is kind of neutral. And that's really cool. Other really great area here is something called non-places. You may be familiar with the concept of liminal spaces. It looks like that, or that, or that, or that, or this. If you went through the customs at the Brussels airport. Non-places are places that you go through. Non-places that you can settle in. Non-places are places where history doesn't happen, where identity doesn't really happen. You just go through them. You're not really respected in any of these places. And when you think of it, if you scroll on Facebook, it's kind of the same thing. You just go from point A to point B, from point A to point B, and you scroll back down and down and down. You're never really somewhere, and you're always in someone else's house. And again, you don't really have any using rights in the And you look at different approaches that we have for this. Basically, it comes down to three main areas. Either something is centralized, federated, or you're doing it in Web3. So if you look at how social network works, like Facebook, it just works. It really, really works. Fediverse and Web3 are dog shit when it comes to this. Accessibility is just way better for centralized things. But you start to see that there are areas where it just doesn't overlap. Like the Federalist is really great for governance. Blockchain is just really bad at accessibility. Centralized systems are just way better for performance. But it seems that if you really always have to choose one or the other, you really can't have your cake and eat it too. And the trust assumptions are completely different depending on where you're going. Like, it's very different to sell decentralized Facebook to someone who's happy with Facebook. Because the fact that they're on Facebook is just the fact that they're already happy with the state of things. When you tell them, oh, I don't trust Facebook, it doesn't quite resonate with them. So a good example of a trust infrastructure in this model for social media are Farcaster and Nostr. They're using blockchains on networking or cryptography where it makes sense, and they're not siloed into one any particular area. I love the fact that Farcaster uses Ethereum for identity because it is great to have a centralized database, even like a trustless database for this. But for the rest, like you don't really need to run everything on chain at every single point in time. Looser consensus with CRDTs is more than enough for your use case. Just use the right tool for the job. That would be the only takeaway that I can think of. So what happens when you read at the end of this event? That's the kind of the closing thoughts that I would like you to leave with. What happens when you can finally own data with PCDs, with cryptography? When you can selectively decode information about what you have, that's CK. And what can you build that wasn't really possible before? Not only in terms of technology, but once you actually start thinking about, okay, maybe none of this should run fully on chain, or maybe I should start using the blockchain for where it's really interesting. Our goal should be to find ways to increase the surface area for trust building once again. We need new trust infrastructure adapted to the world as it is, and I'll leave that diagram back here in case people still want to show. Thanks.